Okay. It says we are live.
Hang on, I got a spiel here to give. Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that this meeting is being video and audio recorded for public record and transparency. The recording will be made available in accordance with Indiana's open door law. We ask that all attendees remain respectful and refrain from any disruptive behavior during our meeting. If you have any questions regarding the recording process, please feel free to contact me, Charles Carter, Robb Township trustee, after the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation. We will now begin the meeting. Rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Everybody has a packet there in front of them. Mr. Garrett, if you don't mind to call the order and list the attendees. Call out all of our names and we'll say, yes, we're here.
Okay. Charles Carter,
Yes.
Harrison Unger,
Yes.
Sarah Newton. Yes. Brenda Garris.
Okay, thank you. We'll look over, we have minutes from the last meeting. If you want to look those over. If anybody has any discussion on them. And if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented. Take your time.
I am gonna refrain from voting on these since I wasn't present for the meeting, so that'll be up to you guys.
Do you think this is something we should read?
The
For those
minutes?
that are watching, or?
I think you just have to have the minutes provided, like the minutes should also be with,
These get uploaded into,
Yeah.
the gateway, okay.
as
So
long
they
as they're
will be
uploaded.
accessible to
Yes.
people. I just wondered for the purpose of, video.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from last meeting.
I seconded.
Any further discussion? Okay, minutes passed. Next, you'll have your bank statement, your reconciliation by fund. You can see I didn't do it this time, so it's nice and color coded. And then year-to-date ledger and balance. We can make motion to approve the financial statements as presented. They don't have to be approved individually. But just so that gives you an opportunity to see everything in all forms.
A couple things in the red,
Mhm.
can we just talk about those?
Yeah. So you see payroll taxes. This is carried over from 2024 budget into 2025. 2025 budget did not change from 2024. Prior to me becoming the township trustee, I did not change the budget my first year in. The previous township trustee increased the township pay, and so the budget slid over the same. So we went over in that by 300 on the taxation of that. That will be cleaned up. All the green here is going to slide that in, so it comes out of the general. That will be adjusted for next year's budget, so that will be allocated properly on the line item. That's what that difference is there. And then you see down there, the township assistance over by $50. we can't control those things.
Right.
We kind of set a benchmark as to, we think this is what it's going to be. And as long as it's within that, the general budget, which you see, we still have almost 17,000 in.
Yes.
I'll just slide that around and clean that up before the end of the year. That does bring me to a little bit of conversation, though, that you'll see on the proposed budget for next year. You weren't here for all the conversation on that. Did make quite a bit of adjustments to bump those up so that we avoid any additional appropriations like we had last year. It does look like our fire budget, from what I was presented from the town, and I'll provide that to you. They are looking like it's gonna be 65, just under 65,000 our portion for fire next year. I had budgeted 55, but it's gonna go over. That's to maintain within our levy for fire taxation. The additional 10,000 is gonna come out of that 80,000 in general. So we can create a line item in the general fund for fire. That's what I was explained by the Department of Rural Government Finance, is that we create a line item within the general for the expected overage, so that I'm staying within the tax levy of fire and still providing per our contract. We can always revisit that. We can increase and create a separate tax should we need to, depending on what we see fire doing. I would like to see a couple more years of expenditures and see what we're looking at before we make that decision, though. Any other questions, comments, concerns? You see that our balance has climbed quite a bit here. We're looking at now $426,057.74 sitting in the bank. That has created quite a bit more interest revenue. So you'll see just this year alone, and we've still got a few months left, we're $9,384.10 we've collected in interest just from that money being there in that account. So
I make a motion to accept the bank statements.
Second.
motion to accept the financial statements as presented and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, that passes. Move on to new business. So capital improvement plan has to be submitted by the 30th of this month. That sounds scary, it's not. We have to, under new state law, we have to provide a capital improvement plan up to the 30% of our coffers. So we take that number, that's the unencumbered balances. We'll even just make it an easy 300,000. Say everything else is going to be tied up, which it won't be quite that much, but that'll put us about $80,000 to $90,000 is what we're looking at. There's a form that I'm going to fill out and submit to the state. They have to approve, but it automatically, I load in all my numbers and it spits out what we're going to be able to spend and allocate in capital improvements. We talked a little bit at length at our last meeting about some options there. We don't have a lot of assets as a township, like many townships out there do. We don't. What we do have is public cemeteries. I think this would be a great opportunity for us to improve our public cemeteries. I don't know if you've been around and visited many of them, but they're dilapidated.
Mm-hmm.
We have some in our township with Revolutionary War heroes in them, which would be pretty cool to highlight. Through this capital improvement plan, we can allocate pretty well the dollars however we want to. If we want to put in new gravel roads to get access to these cemeteries, put up new fences, do any landscaping needs. We had at Black River Cemetery north of town here, we had a large, I believe it was an oak that had just died and came down in a storm and destroyed a good section of the fencing. It was actually blocking the entrance at one point in time. And Dave chipped away at it with the chainsaw and has gotten it to where it's accessible. But that would be what these monies are used for. Cleaning of headstones, restoring of headstones. We have somebody local that does that. I think that would be a cool opportunity for us to really access these cemeteries. Some of them are, that one especially, is extremely hilly. I mean, most of the graves are all, it would be hard to access for any elderly person. And we recently had someone die in our community in their 90s whose daughter reached out to me. They don't live here in town, but mom wanted to go and see those graves, and it just wasn't feasible for them to get back there. Mobility just wasn't capable of making that trip. So we can look at these things on an individual cemetery basis. What I would like to see done is we have the ability to hire a director of cemeteries, where that director of cemeteries, that would be their sole job, is to evaluate our township cemeteries. This would only be, and I stress this would only be publicly owned cemeteries. We have several cemeteries in our township that people actually own, and they're required to maintain those. If they would like to relinquish those and sign those over to the township, we could then use taxpayer dollars on them, but we can't use taxpayer dollars to fund the improvement of a privately owned cemetery. So this would be the publicly owned cemeteries within the township. This, under my idea of this, the director of cemeteries would evaluate the cemeteries, give a list of improvements that they would like to suggest and bring before the board. And then we could set a budget for them yearly as to what they can spend on that cemetery or as the cemeteries as a whole. They would be responsible for getting quotes, should they see fit, from stone restoration or gravel or any of that sort. I have somebody in our local community that I would like to suggest for this position. That would be Dennis Webb. He has a long history with the community, lots of family ties, but he has a hobby of findmygrave.com or findgrave.com. He actually goes in, nobody knows this, he doesn't advertise this, but when you go on that website, all of those linkages that tell you where another one is buried and this one's related to that one, he does that on his own private time. He just enjoys doing that and trying to link those families in this community. He's a wealth of knowledge, knows a lot of the private cemeteries as well as the public cemeteries, but he has been going around on his own dime and cleaning a lot of the headstones for quite some time. So any of these older headstones that you're seeing that have miraculously whitened up over the last 2-3 years, he's been self-funding and he just has a passion for it, wants to see it done, and loves the history link of it. So I did speak with him. He is willing to come on board in this position. He doesn't know what the position looks like. I don't know what the position's going to look like, but he's eager to be a part of this. Would love to see some of these stones restored. He's very interested in Indiana code as to what can be done, what can't be done, how these stones can be restored. So making sure that we're following the legal processes to ensure that this gets done right. Rutledge Restoration is somebody local that does and has done work in our area on the headstone restorations. I would like to leave that up to this director of cemeteries to make those decisions as to who they hire and how they go about using the budgeted money that we give them, or that you guys give them and allow them to use. What are we thoughts so far on what I've said?
Are you wanting Dennis to have other help on the board or just him?
Well, as the director, he would answer to the board, but he would be given somewhat freedom. So he would present, basically, say November would be a great time of year to do that. Say, hey, these are the cemeteries that I'm really looking at focusing on for 2026. This is what I think each one is going to cost. This is a list of what I'd like to see done there. We have multiple headstones on the back corner. We had a tree. One of them, he was telling me just the other night that a tree had fallen in a storm and knocked off a bunch of the spires off of some older cemetery headstones, because a lot of them are in undesirable ground, is where most of these early cemeteries were located. So a lot of wooded area, especially in the back corners and such, where a cemetery would typically start and then start to move out. So he's like, well, I'd love to replace those spires, or at least affix them back up and then clear out some of those dead trees to prevent more damage. And so he would, in this process, my idea that he would present that to the board and say, hey, this is what I think it's going to cost me, or cost to get done, and we would approve it from there in a formal meeting and a vote. and then allocate those dollar amounts in our capital improvement fund. So all this is going to do is create a new fund within the general fund, allocating up to 30% of our current unencumbered amounts that then could be used for this. This does not solely have to be used for cemeteries. We had talked at one point in time about a community garden. There's options for parks, walking trails. It's really as creative as we want to get in our township, to beautify our township, to elevate our township, whatever we want this to be. My suggestion would be with the timeline is that we lock in these dollars, and we can, I think, fairly roughly say that we are going to use these dollars for improvement of cemeteries, and if we have any other ideas, go ahead and lock those in. 2026, we don't have to necessarily allocate dollars for. This will be over a 3-year period. So if we say we're going to spend this amount over 3 years, even if it takes us all of 26 to figure out a plan on what it's going to cost, we're still within that 2-year period. We just spend it within 2027 and 2028, and we still suffice what the state's looking for in the capital improvement plan to lock in those funds from leaving our account.
So we can basically allocate that 30% now. The entire thing is for cemetery improvement. And that just means over the course of the next 3 years, we have to spend all of that.
I don't know that we're bound to spend it. Like if there's money left over, we don't lose it, just like any other funds.
Okay, so as long as it's allocated, then it can't go back to the county.
We're earmarking it for this so that it's not accessible from
Yeah.
somebody
That was
to some other entity.
That was
Keep
my
that
understanding.
kind of open, but yes,
Okay.
we're saying we're going to spend it, is what the capital improvement plan is essentially saying.
So but it would be earmarking 80 to 90,000 a year or for over the 3 years?
Over that 3-year period,
Okay. So I was gonna say, that's a lot for
yes,
a cemetery.
yes. But, right, and so it's a lot for a cemetery. It's not a lot when you start to think that we have 18 cemeteries.
Right.
And if we are doing headstone restoration, what does that look like? How do we pick that? And I think, I don't know that I would be anywhere near qualified to answer that. This guy, he's been doing it for years on his own, and he says, well, this family, he was talking about the Robb family that founded Robb Township even, that cemetery is in poor shape. So he's like, how cool would it be to bring that up and just as a piece of our history that we can direct people to, and we could have a podium stand kind of monument with a QR code that you scan, and it tells you a whole list of the families that are in there and who they're tied to. And click here, okay, well, it's going to take you to this cemetery because she married it. I mean, he's a whiz at it, and he will exhaust you with information for sure, and he loves it. That's what he does.
Do we have any idea, realistically, how much money?
I have no clue.
Okay.
I really don't. I've never looked into
Right.
what these things cost. Some of it's just truckload of gravel even to get a good pathway back to them. But then I would hope that we could find, I'm not saying pro bono work, but some of this would, hey, do you want to help restore this? Can we get some volunteerism
Good
to come out
scouts.
and start to
project,
scout
yeah.
projects? This can be a whole
Mhm.
thing on that. And see where it will go.
I think it's something that's needed. Cemeteries is part of what we're supposed to take care of. So I think it's definitely needed. But it is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. 30% of the budget is a lot. But I like to know that we can as long as we can move it around a little bit. Because I think some of the other things that you mentioned, like walking trails, besides the schools, there's no walking trails here. Unless somebody knows of any that I don't know about. But I think walking trails, I think that's fantastic. People like to walk with their dogs and stuff. You can't really bring that, your dogs and things during the school day. So I think that's a great idea. And I love the idea of obviously I love the idea of the community garden. We've talked about it a couple times. So I think if there would be a way that we could make plans and try and do all those things, I think that'd be great.
it's my understanding that creating the capital improvement plan doesn't lock that money's in. It's making a statement that we are going to be using it for a project. From that, this is a year-to-year report that we can resubmit and alter and change and say, no, we've decided that we're gonna throw, 50,000 at this or whatever it may be. Also, something to think about, I did find out that you guys as a board can determine where that interest goes. We can earmark that interest, and that can
The
change.
9,000.
That can change on a monthly, that can change on a yearly, that can continue to grow in one area. But if we have something that, hey, we really want to see this continue to grow in this area, we'd love to spend that 13 to 15,000 we're generating a year on this. That is an option. We also don't have any debt. So if we were to purchase ground for a park or something, that can all be financed, and then that interest can essentially pay for that land. There's a lot of different options that I'm learning about that I didn't really think of before. You hate to think of using debt as a tax entity. I really wouldn't want to do that, but some of those go into different TIF districts and things to where the property improvement tax helps pay some of that back. There's a whole wizardry to it. I do think it would be pretty cool to have a Robb Township Park somewhere. And we can probably get some ground fairly cheap and purchase it in cash, and then maybe have it a green space for a year while we build up interest, and then purchase all of the park equipment on the next year, and just have that part of our capital improvement plan. But instead of locking in that 30%, this would be a separate fund that's continuing to grow. And we can allocate in a meeting here and say, all interest generated in 2025 is to be used for said park in 2026. So that's all, as long as you guys can come to a agreement on what that, money would be spent for, we can do that. And I think we should, rather than just sit and let it grow. I think it should be used for something, because, it's nice to have a padding and a cushion, but at some point, it's good to see taxpayer dollars being used to do things in the community.
Do you need a motion to do this?
We need a motion to establish that capital improvement plan as described in Indiana Code 3669, where we will allocate up to 30% for cemetery improvement within Robb
Okay, to
Township.
establish a what?
Capital improvement plan.
I'll make a motion to approve capital improvement plan as described in Indiana Code 36-6-9. And for the 30%, whatever that number is.
And allocate the full amount at this time for cemetery improvements within Robb Township.
Absolutely, all of that.
And you don't have to, you can scribble a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some chicken scratch. I'll
Okay.
know what to put in there.
Okay,
Okay, I have a motion,
I second it.
second. Any further discussion?
Well, I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts are about it. My thought is, I want the 30% to stay within our township. I don't want somebody else getting their fingers in it. So, I think starting with the cemetery is great. That is part of our responsibility, is to take care of those. I love the thought of a director coming on board, because especially somebody who has passion for it, because they're not only going to know the information, but they're going to have a heart for it. And I'm thankful for that, because I know nothing about taking care of a cemetery.
He did
Like
want to
that.
clarify that he is 70 years old and is not
Absolutely.
expected to do the labor himself.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely. We'll find the right people.
We can find people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are from discussions at, a later point, and we can fine tune all of that, but this is the starting point.
Plan some cleanup dates, and
Yeah,
I think, and I think these would be great scout projects, just
Fantastic
because
scout
of
projects.
the history and the respect and things that go right into their core beliefs.
Mhm.
Could be great.
There's so many school clubs that are looking on ways to help with the community. I think this would be great.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, we have established what our basis is for the capital improvement plan. That'll be submitted by the end of the month. So next, we need to establish a cemetery director. And then we are going to need to figure out what the duties of the director are and discussion of compensation. I think they should be compensated something for their time. We have the monies in the general to be able to do that. So I don't know that that's a vote right now. That is something we will plan at our next meeting. We can kind of set that in stone before the end of the year so that when we're setting salaries for 2026, that'll just be included in our salary ordinance for that year. So start thinking think all independently, and then we can come together during that meeting and say, hey, I think these would be the duties or lists, and then have him here with us so that he can say what's realistic and what's not. And then,
We know that he's interested in it, but I think just in the place of fairness, it needs to be not advertised in the newspaper, but some kind of, or however it needs, doesn't have to be advertised in the newspaper if we are wanting to,
I think since it's a public position, it would have.
okay, so then I think we should do that, just to make sure that there's nobody else that would be better suited or more interested. It opens it up to everybody instead of just.
Another just for conversation piece, just to think about, we do have at least one other cemetery that is struggling right now to stay private. As these boards continue to age and families die off, it's just the natural process of things. So one of them, it has reached out as exploring the option of relinquishing that or dissolving that board and it becoming public Robb Township cemetery. And then what would that look like for them? And I said there's nothing saying that we can't have individual cemetery committees that involve those families, basically keeping their board. They just wouldn't have the fiscal responsibility. They would have to go before the director of cemeteries with their own capital improvement plans of, hey, this is what we would like to see done. And then that would be something that he could then take before this board and work alongside him in improving that individual cemetery.
When you put that director out there or for the job, you might get a lot of people interested and then they can be the board maybe too.
Yeah.
That money out.
I guess my question would be if people that privately own a cemetery right now are interested in taking care of it, but they don't actually want to take care of it. It's hard for me to understand where we would take on all of the fiscal responsibilities of that. And then they get all the say in what happens with it.
Well, they wouldn't have all the say. They would have influence in the say. If the township owned it, they could still be involved as an advisory board, basically just for that cemetery. But there's a difference in the cemetery that I'm talking about is the ground is owned by the cemetery board. So it's a private entity within itself. It's not a private ownership of, say, a landowner who has a cemetery attached to their land.
Okay.
So I think that's where your question would fall under. We have
Right.
some of them that have a cemetery on their ground
Yeah.
and they're not wanting to mess with it.
Yeah.
Well, they have a responsibility to clean it and mow around it. But then if they were to give it over to the township, they would sign over the deed to that ground.
And I get that. I don't have a problem with we take care of things after deeds are signed over. That's totally understandable.
Yeah.
That said, it kind of seems like, man, I'd really like it if they built a brick wall around this cemetery. I know what I'll do. I'll give it to the township and then tell them they need to build a brick wall around it.
Oh, I got you.
You see what I'm saying? Like, well, if you want a brick wall, then go build it.
Yeah.
Or pay to have it built. We don't have endless amounts of money, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Where we can take on all this stuff and the pet projects that come along with it.
Yeah.
And I want them to be as nice as we can make them, but that said, we do have finite resources, so, you know, I mean, $30,000 a year for a salary and upkeep of 18 cemeteries isn't much.
Well, that cemetery, the capital improvement would not be necessarily for all of the upkeep. We currently contract that out through our mowing contract.
Yeah,
So this would be
that's what,
for
once a year, yes?
improvements.
Right,
So that would be for any tangible improvements
okay.
to the cemeteries themselves.
I guess then my question would be, if we do want to fix things up, we want to get trees cut, we want to maybe lay in some gravel paths, whatever, then it kind of feels like we probably ought to mow a little more than once a year too, on top of that.
He does.
Well,
But yeah.
I understand,
we can
I understand
clean
where
that
he's
contract
coming
up as
from.
well.
I mean, he wants he wants the cemeteries to look good. I do too. But in my opinion, there's no reason to put money into a cemetery and then leave it sit all year until right before Memorial Day again. I would want to go forward with, okay, at least mow it a few times a year, more than once.
He does. So legally, it would be one time a year, but he is, the person that has our current mowing contract, he's mowing more than once a year.
Oh,
Yes, he's mowing
Okay.
several times. Yeah, he's
I
fully
see.
retired now and he's going around. Legally, the state statute states that it has to be
That's the
mowed at
requirement.
least once a year.
so we're already exceeding.
Our
Okay.
contract
Yeah.
is
I
already
understand.
exceeding that.
I see.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes better sense.
Do you know off the top of your head how many times will we have in the contract?
I don't know stated in the contract.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember.
I know that he is mowing them regularly, especially now that he's retired. He's kind of and we upped his pay for that as well. Taking on Black River was quite a task, and he's been spending quite a bit of time up there as well, trying to clean that up and bring that back. But we have a mowing contract coming up again, so those are things that we can revisit and say, hey, if we are going to be throwing all this money at these cemeteries, we expect them to be here, and he can say, well, then I expect the pay to be here, and I'm gonna have to hire, 2 guys, or, I mean, that could have been, that could grow. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
If we're gonna spend money on these
Let's do it
properties, let's
Yeah.
make sure that they're being represented
Yes.
well, for any visitors that they may have.
Yeah, continuously taken care of, not just once and then, well, we did our part, you
Yeah.
know.
Once we own a cemetery as well, we can also sell plots to that cemetery. So the more attractive we make these cemeteries and the more we let people know that their
Yeah.
families and their lineages are there, they might get used again, which could then generate and replenish that fund as well and kind of eventually sail that ship to itself where it's maintaining itself and could have much more regular upkeep. Individual cemeteries, if they're being used and regularly and have plots that are being paid for, then they could have their own separate mowing contract for that cemetery. I do need to do much more research before we sell a plot of ground though, to put the lot in.
Doesn't
Oh,
this require a shovel?
I don't think so. I think there's probably more regulations there. But I did find out that we can advertise and we can't sell those, once we have ownership of
Sounds like a good path.
it. Yeah. Okay, so we are not, we can say we're establishing a cemetery, or a director of cemeteries position. We don't know what that looks like and we don't know what compensation it is. We're not advertising for it yet until we can, figure that out, iron that out first.
Yeah.
And then-
Discuss it, yeah.
Okay, and we'll do that at our next meeting.
We're gonna discuss it at the next meeting, or we need to have the decisions by the next meeting.
At the next meeting, we should be able to iron out what the duties are and announce that we're gonna post the position.
Okay.
I would like to have it in place before the salary ordinance.
Yeah.
At the end of the year. So probably schedule a meeting before this October,
That's what I was thinking, if we need to call
Do
a
the
special
same.
meeting.
do the same.
Then that'll give us time to think about it and then come back to the table and discuss it and then have an idea and then we'd be able to vote on it on the 24th. Does that sound,
That
Yeah.
sounds,
I think that kind of.
on October 24th.
is the one that we'll need to adopt, so we need to figure out a time for a special meeting.
22nd.
Well, that'll be a
22nd.
5:30 meeting, so we can do a 4:30 again beforehand,
Oh, okay,
if that works for you.
On the 22nd, October 22nd.
24th,
that's Friday.
that's what we put it, no, 22nd, I'm sorry. It is 22nd.
So 4:30.
Just a question, if I'm not able to make a meeting, am I allowed to call in?
Yes,
Or am I
up
allowed
to
to,
one of us can.
am I allowed to vote over the call? And I know I know that they passed an ordinance with the commissioners. Now, I don't know if that meant that that goes for the entire county, but I know that they had passed a couple years ago, that you could vote even if you're not present over phone
I
during
think we can
COVID.
pass that. I think we can pass that. We just stated in here and it's agreed upon by all parties
Oh, okay,
previously, and I can put it in the minutes that we've decided that that's agreeable. Then we can do that. I would say no more than one be able to do that
for sure.
for a voting meeting.
I just know it makes, with us being a board of three, if it can't be physically here, then I don't have my schedule yet for October.
Sure.
So that's why that's why I was curious. Is it phone or would I do a live stream in?
Being that we're already recording on this with YouTube, I would say phone.
Okay.
So that it could be the audio could be picked up. So basically, we're establishing a resolution that up to one voting member can be physically absent and still have voting authority via voice call in.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance for
A resolution.
a resolution for one member to be able to call in and cast votes via telephone.
I seconded.
You good with that?
Yep, I'm just waiting for a vote call. All in
Okay. All in favor?
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That's good. That's good stuff. C on the new business is purchase a tablet for recording and geolocate. That is a personal device. I would like to purchase one for the township for this type of use. Plus, with the director of cemeteries, it'll be something that they can go out. I want to geolocate each one of these cemeteries so that whoever takes our positions, this is something that's loaded into. I've created a Robb Township Gmail account that all of this can just be fed into. So the money's already in the general fund. This isn't something that has to come before the board, but I would like it to come before the board before I go and make a purchase like that. It's probably going to be something of a Samsung tablet, something that we can get one of those rubberized cases that you can slip your hand in, since it's going to be out in the field and gravel and that type of thing to protect it. And then probably pay out of the general office fees, $20 a month, I think is what these would cost to have cell tower access, so that in the remote locations where these are, they'd be able to access it. It would be owned by the township, mostly used or held with me unless the director of cemeteries, needs it, and then we would use it for recordings. So
I make a motion that township buys a tablet for recording and geolocate.
Second.
motion second. Any further discussion? Does anybody have any preferences on what we get? I don't.
Are we gonna, stop, do we have a stopping point on how much it's gonna cost?
You can put one.
Like a tablet with an X budget, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need we don't need a
Oh, I thought you were
MacBook.
going out tonight to go get it.
No. No, I mean, I can't exceed the general budget that we had put in place last year, that you guys voted on. Or you weren't here,
I was
but the general budget that was voted on last year,
Okay.
which still has
Is it under
17,000.
Like, how much do you think it's gonna
office
cost?
supply, is it under office supplies?
1,500 tops for those devices usually. isn't it?
Office
I don't
supplies,
think it
stationary
should be that
office
expensive.
It
supplies.
shouldn't be. I don't know what these things, and usually I do the finance with like Verizon. Like, yeah, I'll do it for 24 months, and it's $60 a month or whatever. I never look at the buyout price, but I don't wanna finance.
Well,
it.
you get a brand new iPhone every time one comes out, and so it probably
I
costs you
don't like
more
that
every month.
change, I don't like that change word.
No,
So, I
I think
mean-
that you can, if you're getting a Samsung device, I would think that you could get a top of the line something for like $400 or $500.
That's reasonable.
Yes. And then an OtterBox to keep it from getting demolished.
Okay.
Would be like
Or do we wanna just,
$100.
if we're gonna meet in, in a month, do you want to get some prices of stuff and bring it back? Or do we, because it looks like office supplies, we only have $350.
I really don't know. What these things are. Is that on Amazon? Just-
Oh, we'll be looking at Costco. I mean, come
Costco?
on.
Yeah, look it up.
For what, like a Chromebook or
No, I
not a
want
Chromebook?
Like an Android tablet.
Okay.
one that doesn't have a keyboard to it so that it can sit
Gotcha.
into one of those sling type things.
I don't think that's the definition of a tablet. It doesn't have a keyboard. Sorry.
That's funny. Yeah.
No, I thought those tablets were $1,000.
I think
I
you
know,
can buy
like
like
Apple-
Microsoft Surface for that.
Maybe I'm just been overpaying.
You can get a
My internet's not working. Imagine it.
I got your Costco app.
It's just spinning.
Use my phone. Oh, well.
Yeah, it's just the internet.
Oh, man, look at this. Yeah,
What's it looking
Well,
like?
$800 for those Galaxy tabs.
okay.
It's better than 1,500. You buy
So
some.
the
It's like
iPads are like
Yeah.
1,200, 1,500 looks like. So I mean, I don't know. I don't think it needs to be top of the line, but I want it to last. I don't want to buy four $400 ones over 3 years and then say, dang, we should have.
Well, are you doing video editing on it?
No,
Right, you don't need anything that's gonna be.
no. And it's
I mean-
loading up. It should be going directly to YouTube. I'm not even saving it to
Right.
The device.
If you're doing cloud-based stuff on it,
Okay.
it's not gonna be required to have.
It needs to be able to access the cell towers.
It needs to be able to access Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It needs to be able to upload directly to the interwebs.
The interwebs.
And it needs to be able to log in, to have a Google login
Right.
so that we can open up Google Maps and set pins.
Sure. I guess just for FYI purposes, we have an iPad, which I know is not Samsung,
I have an iPad. I
but
don't I don't
Nice.
knock it.
at the flower shop that we've had for now 7 years that still works.
Yeah.
And it runs all the Google stuff though?
Oh, yeah, you can download all the Google stuff.
Yeah, you
I
can.
also have that.
I'm not
not
saying
specific.
I'm not saying go buy an Apple iPad. I'm saying we have an iPad that's 7-year-old technology and still works flawlessly.
Okay.
So it's not going to be. It's not like a
Well, they have a
quantum
Galaxy.
computer that's going to be obsolete in 3 weeks.
Mhm.
This is the
Regardless of what
Samsung
it's done.
Tab A9 Plus, 11-inch, normal sheet of paper size for $160.
Right.
So I think that we're within,
Honestly, I would be surprised if $375 got it.
Okay.
I mean, wouldn't you, like,
you think more around the 500 mark?
I think if we at least budget it for that, and if you can find something better, then fantastic, but
Yeah.
I would rather, I mean, how
I would be
awful if it was
definitely comfortable with
$400 and we had a $375 budget.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
Just get something good. I mean,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if it's just to record,
It's not doing much, but I don't
And-
want to have to replace the dang thing
agree.
and then actually spend more than that.
yes.
Yeah.
Samsung's pretty hardy. I think
Yeah.
Samsung may even be hardier than Apple's. And
So-
like you said, I also have an Apple
That's
that
probably
is
true.
years and years and years old, and I take it with me everywhere.
So we think 500, are you
So
good with that?
Yes.
Totally good with that.
I think that's fine.
including the case.
So do we have to make a motion to increase the office supply line? No, we don't have to do any of
None of
that.
it, as long as,
Okay, as long
you
as
don't
it-
have to do anything unless we exceed that $16,904. So
Got
this
it.
wasn't even something that needed to be brought, I just, I
Oh,
wanted
I'm
to
sorry.
No, I just want it transparent that I'm not going and buying some device. We are buying a device for the use of the township. I want that to be brought.
Yes.
Anybody that questions.
Yeah.
What's you doing that for? Something in Verizon, he's buying some. Anyways, so.
No, and
Thank
I would prefer to go ahead and do that sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to use your personal device for
Yeah.
this business.
I will try and have that done before our next meeting
Thank you.
and have everything downloaded on there so that specifically just that Google account, the Rock Township Google account use.
We
Okay.
didn't vote on it if you
No.
want to vote on it.
Because it's within the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
That was me.
Brought it
I
before, I wanted to bring it before.
Somebody made a motion and seconded this all.
No, that's good. I would rather be in agreement and,
It's better. Yeah, it's
Question.
better that way.
okay, so. And then. I don't know. The resolution of network plan, that would be just establishing that I would be paid back the $20 a month off of my Verizon plan. If we set up an additional Verizon plan, it'd be like $150 a month. I don't want to do that. So make a resolution, you guys understand that you would see a charge of $20 a month coming back. And that would come off of the stationary office supplies probably, or no, communication,
In
Yeah.
transportation.
which we're not spending anything in telephone because I jumped that all the way down to, I think we're down to under $10 a month on that. So I would say we change telephone line item to telecommunications. And then just, that would come out of that line item and it would still cover just fine with the current budget. It wouldn't even, okay.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
That sounds
Yeah.
fine. Okay, and then,
Is it a resolution? Do we have to vote on that?
no,
Okay, perfect.
it was just discussed in a meeting, everybody agreed upon it. It's gonna be notated in the notes, uploaded into Gateway so that I can show there wasn't a single decision being made. And then final discussions for the 2026 proposed budget. This is before our budget hearing meeting at 5:30, so it gives us 10 minutes. If you guys had any questions, wanted to talk further, I know you guys had the information prior. Basically, I padded the numbers pretty heavy, is what I did. I didn't want to do an additional appropriation. None of the money, if it doesn't get spent, doesn't go away. I mean, it just stays right where it's at. The general inflated quite a bit, just to make sure that we were gonna have fine. I increased it by $50,000. That's a big number.
Yeah.
But I wanna make sure if we're gonna create an additional position, I don't know what that salary is gonna look like. We can also create line items within this, for cemetery, just like if it exceeds the capital improvement budget and we wanted to use that, or, I mean, we have a lot of options there with that money, but that's just announcing to the public that, hey, we're not gonna go over this $80,000. Then the 20,000 in township assistance, that got padded quite a bit from the 12,000 last year because of funerals and burials. We had the one burial come up. It wasn't this year, it was last year, but cost us almost $8,000. That's just, things are costing a lot more now. We don't know how often that's going to happen, but that at least pads us for one. There are a lot of hoops to jump through, and I did have to deny at least one this year, maybe two. It could have been last year, but if they have any assets whatsoever that they can sell, or the deceased had any ownership of anything that can be sold, we have to deny it. So this would truly be a pauper's funeral. That's why I doubt we would have more than one, but that at least adds it enough to have that. We do have CenterPoint customers in our area. That is something to think about as well. So bump that up to 20,000, and then the township fire, as I said earlier, the 55,000 is what I had anticipated, which is our previous budget plus the additional appropriation that we had to do, plus a little bit of padding of about 3,000. I thought was going to cover us, but then when Jody with the town gave me the proposed budget for 2026 fire. It was 63, I think was our portion, 63.7, and some change was the estimated. So went ahead and talked to Robert Norris, who helps with budgeting, and he said we could add that into the general. So that's the additional 10,000. So the 55,000 budgeted. If we do need that additional 10,000, we will have a line item in the general fund for that purpose. What questions do we have?
So you said general, it's gonna be 80, assistance is 20, and then EMS, the fire and EMS is 55. And then there's gonna be an additional, no,
That, the additional
Yeah.
10,000 falls within that 80,000.
it's just gonna be a line item.
Correct.
So
Just
for-
like any of these were green
If
on.
with the 55, if they get to that and they need some, like how, what was it, a fire pump, there was something that,
The pumper,
yes, the pumper.
replacement pumper.
Would they have to come to the whole board for that, then you kind of have the discretion to, okay,
Just
add
frees us
that
up.
10,
Yes.
okay,
So, yeah, technically it could exceed that without an additional appropriation because it's falling all within the same general budget. The only time an additional appropriation would be needed is if we exceed that 80,000.
Okay.
So if any of these line items can slide,
okay,
yes.
got it,
So under the proposed, or actually under the approved general budget for 2025, we are still almost 17,000 in the green. So any of those numbers can slide freely. The line items are just, it helps with calculating what the budget should be.
mhm,
Just helps with that. So, yeah. Instead of saying, utilities, you break it down, lights, water, gas, this, and gives you that number. And thankfully, the state provides forms for all of that I just plug in numbers and it auto-populates, generates, makes it easier for me.
have you had any discussions about the budget, like, are there concerns from anybody? Like outside of the board, like have citizens come and had any concerns or anything that we should discuss before?
No, and this was posted on the gateway as it's supposed to be. So I haven't had anybody voice any concerns. Fire hasn't come up with anything. We did allocate, as expressed in the last minutes, that $6,022 for their incentive program. That's not included in any of this. That is solely off, oh, yes, it will be. That would be, I'm gonna need clarification on that tomorrow. That may increase the fire budget.
But that's money coming in so it may increase the budget. That said,
I can put that under general. Pay this out of the general, because this has to be, the 6,022 has to be deposited into fire, but we can make purchases out of the line item general to offset it. So $20 in this pocket, $20 in that pocket.
right,
And then it would still, they still get the money that they have been agreed upon in the resolution that we passed back in May, when everybody was here. So yeah, and that way these numbers can stay the same. This is the budget that we're approving.
Mhm.
And stay, yeah, because that's what was advertised. So we're good. Anything further? Okay. We'll set our next meeting for October 22nd at 4:30.
I thought you said 24th.
Well, the paper's not right, it's the 24th was a Friday, right?
Yes. Now I gotta fix my calendar.
Oh, no.
4:30 and 5:30, right?
Mhm.
Well, 4:30 is gonna be for our next Township Advisory Board meeting. And then 5:30 will be the budget adoption meeting.
Okay.
All right, if there's no further discussion, Meeting is adjourned. And we're gonna take about 4 minutes. We'll go back at 5:30.
We're just gonna, are we gonna just let it
See you
run, or
guys.
are we gonna?
Have a great night.
I'm gonna-
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it run. No, I will be, it'll be a.
So it,
separate-
yeah, so it stops it and has a second.
Oh my
Was it
gosh.
handy enough to, did it not go at work?
Did you not-
It did, but it was only on Brenda.
Oh,
I'm just playing. I'm